Good morning to all of you. We have invited all the researchers, scientists, veterinarians, and progressive farmers today in the occasion of the World Milk Day. And thanks to all of you for attending this webinar. Most respected Professor Dr. Anil Kumar Srivastava, Honorable Member of Agriculture Scientist Recruitment Board, and former Director and Vice Chancellor of National Dairy Research Institute, Karnal, respected Dr. Bhupen Nath Tripathi, Honorable Deputy Director General, Animal Sciences, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, ICAR, New Delhi, dear participants, researchers, scientists, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome Professor A.K. Srivastava in the occasion of World Milk Day, and also thanks to him for accepting our invitation to deliver Dr. Varghese Kurian Memorial Lecture in the World Milk Day. I also welcome Dr. B.N. Tripathi in the occasion, and thanks to him for accepting our invitation to chair this webinar. I welcome to all the participants, researchers from NDRI, researchers from the other institutes. I also welcome here Dr. R.K. Singh, Director and Vice Chancellor of IBRI, Dr. Rameshwar Singh, Vice Chancellor of BASU, Bihar. Friends, you know that Dr. Varghese Kurian, known as the father of White Revolution, the milkman of India, we have mentioned his name in the invitation, Dugdh Purush. He was social entrepreneur whose billion-liter India operational flood, the world's largest agricultural dairy development program, made dairy farming India's largest self-sustaining industry and the largest rural employment providers, third of the all rural income with benefit of rising income and credit to the farmers. It made India the world's largest milk producer from milk deficient nation, and which double milk available per person and increase milk output fourfold in 30 years of time. Friends, this webinar is the first webinar from the NDRI Karnal. And in this occasion, this is a very auspicious occasion to us. We have Honorable Professor A.K. Srivastava, Member of Agriculture Scientist Recruitment Board, Department of Agriculture Research and Education, Government of India, today with us. He will be speaking on the saga of artificial insemination in Indian dairying. Very important topic, and you know that what artificial insemination has done in India. And today we can say that because of this technique and some of the additional technologies which have been adopted by us, today we are the top among the milk producing country in the world. Here we have invited Dr. B.N. Tripathi, Honorable Deputy Director General, Animal Sciences, to chair this session. And also thanks to Dr. Tripathi for accepting our invitation. I will not take much time. I will just briefly elaborate his biodata. Dr. Bhupen Nath Tripathi, born district Azamgarh, UP, graduated from Veterinary College, Mathura. So today we have two very eminent scientists and personalities, policymakers from the same veterinary college, Mathura. And before joining DDG Animal Sciences in January 2020, he was director of ICR National Research Center of Equine and project coordinator, National Center of Veterinary Type Culture at Hisar. Dr. Tripathi served as a scientist, ICR, NRC, Equine, and also the senior scientist as a principal scientist, head of the Animal Health Division, Central Sheep and Wool Research Institute, Abhikanagar, and then director, CCS, National Institute of Animal Health, Bagpat. He was also the postdoctoral scientist in the Institute of Animal Health, Compton, visiting scientist of Moredun Research Institute, Edinburgh, International Wellcome Trust, Travel, National Science Academy, INSA, and Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Professor Tripathi has many awards in his credit, namely Dr. Jain and Vegas Outstanding Pathologist Award, International Wellcome Trust Fellowship Award, and many best research papers and poster awards. Professor Ramarao Best PhD Thesis Award, and so many other awards. Dr. Tripathi has published over 150 articles and developed over 10 technologies. His research areas are veterinary pathology, infectious disease pathology, immunology, and molecular biology. He has done very good work in the area of molecular pathogenesis and diagnosis of Jones disease. Professor Dr. Tripathi is a fellow of National Academy of Agricultural Sciences. He is a fellow of National Academy of Veterinary Sciences, Indian Association of Veterinary Pathologists, Society of Immunology and Immunopathology, and many more. So thanks, Dr. Tripathi, for accepting this chair, which is the first webinar from NDRI. And now I invite Dr. B.N. Tripathi to chair the webinar. Please. Dr. Tripathi, please.
Thank you, Dr. Chauhan, for saying I don't know whether I deserve for those good words. Good morning to all of you. Very honorable Speaker of the day, Professor A.K. Srivastava, Honorable Member ASRB, esteemed Director of NDRI, Dr. M.S. Chauhan, and other participants, especially Vice Chancellors from Chancellor and Director from IVRI, from BASU, and from Mathura Veterinary College, and all other research faculty, students, and also farmers, Kisan Bhai. Today we are celebrating World Milk Day. And this is a great day. And on this day, we are paying also a rich tribute to Dr. Varghese Kurian, who had transformed the Indian livestock industry as a whole. That's why he has been named as Milkman of India, and also father of white revolution in the country. He is an example, he is an embodiment of a single person, how he can transform a country like India, where we had a lot of deficiency with regard to food, milk, and many other things. And he has brought to the stage when now we are the largest milk producer in the world. His lifelong purpose, if you can sum up it, was an empowerment of a small and marginal farmers, landless laborers, and from milk revolution he has really spearheaded so successfully and impacted the quality of life of millions of cooperative farmers in terms of socially, politically, and also economically. And he used to say that milk revolution is a was a byproduct of his empowerment that he brought through Amul model. And then he used to say that he was in a business of milk. Milk was the only medium that he used to empower the farmers. And when he started his journey, he started only journey from the cooperative movement, giving them the right. And to reach to such an stage that our country remembers him because of his contribution. He received all awards, right from Padam Shri to Padam Bhushan, Padam Vibhushan, World Food Pride, Mega Sase Award, and all. And he has been founder chairman of NDDB, IRMA, and so many financial institutions also. He was conferred with all awards and honors except for Bharat Ratna. When a journalist asked him that why you didn't get Bharat Ratna, he said that you asked those who confer it. So he was a person really who has transformed India. Friends, I'm really honored. On this day, we have got one of the most eminent veterinarian, eminent scientist, administrator, technocrat of the country, Professor A.K. Srivastava. And I feel myself honored to the chairman of this session, where a person of his stature, a scientist of his stature, will achieve so much during his over 35 years of career. That today I'm taking the session. Sir, I'm honored. Dr. Chauhan, I'm very thankful to you for having given me this honor to chair this session. If very briefly, if I go for the biodata of Professor Srivastava, he belonged to Varanasi. He started his early education from Inter College, Baburi, Varanasi, between 1969 to 73. Then he moved to Queen's College in Varanasi, one of the most famous colleges in Eastern UP, where only first divisions are taken in admission. Results are always 100%. And many students from that college gets position in the UP board, Allahabad board. State merit list. So he has been the student of that college. And then he moved to Mathura Veterinary College, where he did his graduation and post-graduation both. During 1975 to 81. And then continuously he went to Punjab Agricultural University for his PhD, which he finished in 1984. He started his career as assistant professor from 1984 to 87, then associate professor from 87 to 95 at the College of Veterinary Sciences, Punjab Agricultural University. And he was the professor and head of pharmacology and toxicology during 1995 and 2004. And before moving to SCOSS Jammu, the Dean of Veterinary Science Faculty, and where he was also Director, Resident Instruction Committee, Postgraduate Studies, SCOSS Jammu. From where he moved to Director of one of the most prestigious ICR Institute, Premier Institute, Imperial Institute, NDRI Karnal in 2008, and where he served up to 2017, such a long period. And if you just name, I would not like to name, but he has got hundreds of awards. If I read that, I will take another half an hour. So I'll take some of the very distinguished awards. He has been Nehru Awardee also, or his thesis. So many gold medals. Dr. B.D. Outstanding Pharmacologist Award, 2018. And Dr. Sundaresan Memorial Horasan Award, Dr. Professor S.C. Mandal Memorial Award. Another more distinguished award, the Indira Gandhi Excellence Award, 2007. And they got Lifetime Achievement Award from various Indian societies for his contribution to the field of pharmacology and toxicology. He has been president of Indian Agriculture University Association during 2014, and then patron of Indian Dairy Association and chairman of Indian Dairy Association, New Zealand. He is the president of National Academy of Dairy Sciences and president of Probiotic Association of India. He is the president of Indian Society of Veterinary Pharmacology and Toxicology, president Mastitis Association, and vice president Direct Management Association in India. Professor Srivastava was the founder, editor, chief editor of Journal of Veterinary Pharmacology and Toxicology, executive member of Punjab Academy of Sciences, and he is a member of Indian National Committee on Indian Dairy in National Dairy Federation. He has been task force of DBT, of Animal Biotechnology for several terms, and a member of so many committees, policy making committees, either as a chairman or as a member. So therefore, friends, he has really shaped the policy reforms of country also, if there is any in the country, as far as dairy sector is concerned. He has been awarded fellowship from 12 academies and sciences, and major among them are National Academy of Veterinary Sciences, National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, National Academy of Sciences, National Academy of Dairy Sciences, and so many, more than 8 societies. He has also been awarded DSC. His research area has been mainly veterinary pharmacology and toxicology. I know where he has been working on pharmacodynamics and to a very distinction. He has been a strong researcher, a dedicated researcher, an administrator, and very popular amongst the students and faculty and scientists. A very humble person. Humility, he is the embodiment of humility. He has always, wherever he has been, whether at PAU or at SCOS Jammu, as NDRI, and now being an enrolled member of ASRB, he has always made a significant achievement to the system where he has worked. During his tenure at NDRI, the institute was ranked first among different universities, and it still continues to be first. Research output has gone to the highest level. Number of papers with high impact, peer-reviewed journals has gone up. And friends, during his time only, the second and third generation reproductive technology were developed at NDRI. And then NDRI was one of the pioneer worker in IVF, overbecome, or even cloning. They have done it. So friends, I do not find a better person on this occasion to speak on one of the most important first generation technology, that is artificial insemination. AI has really changed the scenario of this country. Even with only coverage of 35%. Now you can think of when India could have achieved more than 90%, which all countries, developed countries have achieved, then what will the situation of dairy sector in this country? So only with 35% coverage of AI in the country, we have done so much. We have become the largest milk producer in the world and contribute around 22% of total milk production, the world milk production. So friends, I'll not take much time because I will just curtail his time to speak because he's one of the best orator I have ever seen. His memory is so sharp, his mind is full of data, full of data that you can't imagine, I tell you. So let us listen to Professor Srivastava on the saga of artificial insemination in Indian dairy. So sir, I invite you for this lecture, and now floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tripathi. Well, friends, at the outset, my heartiest congratulations to each and everyone for World Milk Day. I remember 2008 when on 1st June, NDRI celebrated the World Milk Day first time, and that was the ignition that from that day in whole country, we started celebrating World Milk Day. So my heartiest congratulations to each and everyone for World Milk Day. I thanks Dr. M.S. Chauhan. When he asked me to deliver the Varghese Kurian Memorial Lecture, I took 1 second to say yes, because even today, NDRI is in my heart, NDRI is in my mind. So I always appreciate the way NDRI is working under leadership of Dr. Chauhan. Dr. Tripathi, thank you very much. You spoke good word. I do not know that I deserve all this appreciation or not, but my sincere thanks to each and everyone. I also thanks my all very senior colleagues and friends who have joined this webinar, especially to my very senior friends, Dr. G.K. Singh, Vice Chancellor, Mathura Veterinary University, Dr. Rameswar Singh, Vice Chancellor, Bihar Animal Science University, my good friends, Dr. Ashwin Thakur, who is President of ISBPT, Dr. Mitra, he joined from Northeastern region, Dr. A.C. Barsne, Dr. R.K. Singh, Director and Vice Chancellor from IBRI, Dr. B.P. Singh from Bhopal, Dr. Chatterjee from Hyderabad, Dr. Rabinder Kumar from Patnam, all many senior friends, they have joined. My greetings to them and thanks that they spared time to join this webinar. Friends, as has been emphasized about the World Milk Day, and as has been said about the Dr. Varghese Kurian, I will not spend time on the explanation of these two headings. Directly, I will come to my talk, that is the saga of artificial insemination in Indian dairy. This is the important topic, and we all know that a few months back we organized one brainstorming session by National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, where all of you are many people who are related with the artificial insemination production, they have joined. Many of the important points which came, I'm including in this presentation. We know that the 20th livestock census, which was released on October 16th, 2019, came in our notice, and there was not much variation in the population of cattle, buffalo, but there was huge variation in the population of goat and sheep, which was increased. Cattle population, it came from 190 to 192.5, buffalo population from 108 to 109.9, but goats population, it raised from 135 to 148, and sheep population from 65 to 74. Four important points which we saw in this census, that there was an increase in total crossbred population, and there was increase in indigenous female cattle population. Accordingly, there was increase in milk chain. So these three distinct observations we observed in that one, that indigenous female population, crossbred population, and milk animal has increased. If we see the number of milk animal has gone up by 6%. The indigenous female cattle has gone by 10%, and the number of crossbred has increased by 39%. So these were three important significant observations in the latest census, which was released in October 2016. All these contribution in the livestock productivity and reproductibility, if we see, then AI has played the major role. If any reproductive biotechnology which we see, which we can say that which helps in the improvement of genetics, without any doubt, it is artificial insemination. Artificial insemination has been adopted by farmers because of 4 reasons. It avoids the maintenance of any bull. Enhancement of genetics and productivity is quite visible. It prevents the sexual disease transmission. And there is a opportunity that we can go for closed herd organized breeding and we can keep the record also. So these were 4 or 5 reasons that artificial insemination were adopted widely. Through artificial insemination using the germplasm of exotic, we also developed few crossbred animal, Karan Fries, Karan Swiss, Frieswald, Sunandini, Phule Tribeni and Brindabani cattle that are existing present in India, and that is because of artificial insemination through exotic germplasm. Globally, if we see, today 80% of the total commercial dairy production is through artificial insemination. 2, 3 slides, how artificial insemination was developed. What is the milestone in the history of artificial insemination? You will be surprised to know that it was 1678 when spermatozoa was first described, and that was in the Netherlands. And then in 1970, AI was first done in human being. So, means AI came from human being to animal. It never went from animals to human. In 1784, the first AI was done in the dogs and pups were born. In 1887, it was the rabbit and horse where AI was done. In 1899, we developed we standardized the protocol of artificial insemination, and in 1907 it was first time demonstrated in farm animal, and it was in 1933 that in dairy animals cooperative dairy AI organized in the Denmark. So it took around 250 years after the development of the AI to the application in the dairy animals. In India, it is very, you will be very happy to know that in India, first AI was performed by NDRI. That is that time it was Imperial Dairy Research Institute, Bangalore, and it was in 1939. And the first AI was done in Mysore Dairy Palace. And the first person who was involved in the AI, he was Dr. Sampath Kumaran. And he used the HF semen in helical cow, and pregnancy were obtained. So the credit goes to NDRI for the first artificial insemination. Later on in 1942, Dr. P. Bhattacharya, we all know the legendary person from IVRI, he took the AI, and then it was, we took a network program, then Calcutta, Bombay, Patna, Bangalore, it went like this. In Buffalo, the first calf through AI was born in 1943 by Allahabad Agricultural Institutes. We all know today in Nani. And in the US, you will be surprised that till 1942, no one was knowing the AI. But 1945 and onwards, it expanded in whole country, and now more than 88 to 90% animals are through AI. Then new development came in 1940. We developed the egg yolk phosphate diluter, and we developed the method for storage of the semen. Then in 1941, we improved the diluter by using egg yolk with sodium citrate. And then we discovered the cryopreservative effect of glycerol in semen freezing. But in India, if you see, at present, AI is done by 3 departments. Animal husbandry departments of the state, that is the 45.7%, dairy cooperative 24%, and other NGOs 29.9%, that is the 30%. So we cannot ignore the importance, the role of NGOs, private agency in artificial insemination in India. They are having around 30% of the share of the total AI. Huge infrastructure in India. If we see the network programs, infrastructure in India, huge infrastructure. Either it is a state livestock development board, or it is veterinary hospital, or dispensaries, or aid center, or breeding farm, either of cattle, buffalo, goat, sheep, or this pig, Our, means cement production center, frozen cement banks, liquid nitrogen plants, AI center. If you see AI center, it is 99,239 AI center presently we are having in India. And I have calculated like this, that each AI center, 681 insemination per year. It means not even 2 insemination per day. So we are having 99,239 AI center, but the response from this AI center is 681 insemination per year, that is 1.86 insemination per day. Friend, this is the latest information on the artificial insemination data. Number of artificial insemination in millions of BC. In 2001 and 2, it was 19.8 million. And in the last 20 years, it jumped from 20 million, that is the 19.8 million, to 75.6 million in 2017 and 18. It is the latest information of Government of India, that is the 75.6 million AI we are doing every year. In different states, it ranges from less than 10% to more than 75%. If we see the states where less than 10% animals are covered under AI, that is the Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, and Sikkim, all northeastern region. 10 to 20%, that is the Chhattisgarh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Mizoram, Nagaland, and Rajasthan. 20 to 30%, Maharashtra, Odisha, Telangana, Tripura, Uttar Pradesh, and Uttarakhand. 30 to 40%, that is the Andhra Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu Kashmir, West Bengal. 40 to 50, Goa and Gujarat. 50 to 60, Haryana, Punjab, and Karnataka, all developed state in terms of the dairy. And then more than 75%, that is the 2 states, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. They are having AI more than 75%. Artificial insemination is responsible. This technology is responsible for enhancing the milk production, as has been said by Dr. Tripathi and Dr. Chauhan. Because of artificial insemination, today in 2018 and 19, we produce the milk of 187.7 million ton. And we all know that it was only 17 million ton in 50-51, and now the latest production is 187 million ton, which is about 20.2% of the total world milk production. Very good scenario. If we see the per capita milk availability, it is going to touch 400 gram per day. 400 gram per day. It is presently today 394 gram. Although Medical Council of India recommends 280 gram milk per person per day, growth rate is 6.5%, and average per capita availability in the world, that is the very little, that is the 229 gram. What I want to convey, that this is the only artificial insemination which led the enhancement of milk production from 17 million ton in 1950 to 187 million in the last 70 years. I have tried to correlate that the number of AI and milk production, there has been positive correlation between milk production, that is in the million ton, and number of AI which has been done. If you see from 1951 to 2017 and 18, the data of 17 and 18 of milk production was 176, and at that time 75.6 million AI was done. So there was a direct correlation. There is direct correlation between AI done and milk production in the country. AI technology led the milk production, friends. If we see, yes, milk production, it was means we always listen this word. People say that it is because of increase in number, or we can say that the milk production in India is number driven, not technology driven. I always say no, this is the technology driven, not number driven. If you see the population of cattle in 1951, there was gone from 43 million to 109 million, so there was 153% increase. So 24% increase in cattle, 153% increase in buffalo led to increase in milk production from 17 to 187.7. That is more than 1,100%. It is a technology driven, not number driven, and in this technology, AI is having contribution of 99%. Today, if we see, the milk output of 2018 and 19 is worth about 65 6,54,000 crores. And this outcome is more than the outcome of total wheat production, total wheat, rice plus sugarcane. That is the very golden statement, which we always say that the only outcome of milk exceeds the outcome of wheat, rice, and sugarcane. This was the milk production. Friends, if we see the genetic improvement, there is also direct correlation with the genetic improvement and AI. Average milk production trend, if we see, it was 4.19 kg per animal per day, and now it is 7.71 kg per animal per day in crossbred animal. In buffalo also, it was 3.37 kg per animal per day, which has gone to 5.47 kg per animal per day. Indigenous, there were tremendous enhancement in indigenous milk production. In 1990, it was only 1.29 kg per person per day, and now it is touching to 3 kg per animal per day. So there is a tremendous enhancement in genetic improvement also through artificial insemination. But this is not the satisfying point. This is not the end. We have to travel a long distance itself. This I have compared here. Different countries: Israel, USA, Canada, France, Denmark, Netherlands, and in last in India, cattle and buffalo. Then what was the productivity per year in 1975, and what is the productivity which is we are having in 2012? So you can see Israel, USA, Canada, whatever changes they got, 70% was because of the genetic improvement and 30% was because of the improvement in the management. That is the changes in the management. But in India, either it is a cattle and buffalo, it has been calculated that 90% enhancement in milk production was because of the management improvement, management change, and about 10% was because of the genetic improvement. So what genetic improvement we saw in the previous slides, that leads to 10% enhancement in milk production. So if we go for further genetic improvement, certainly the milk productivity will increase, and accordingly milk production in country will also be increased. Friends, now coming to the AI. Total frozen semen production, 115.9 million we are producing semen, frozen semen dose. But we are confident that the future of Indian dairy industry lies with semen only, with the bull, with the semen only. It was 33.8 million in 2003 and 4. Now see the jump, 33.8 million to 115.9 million dose of the frozen semen in the last 16-17 years. That is one of the biggest achievement in the production of the frozen semen. Bull under frozen semen production, annual growth rate is around 4.4%. Today we are having 4,158 bull which are producing semen, and in 2003 and 4 the number of the bull were around 2,106. So 2 times jump, approximately 2 times jumps in number of bull under frozen semen dose production. We calculated that 27.87 thousand semen dose per bull per year we are collecting. But I will come that this is not the sufficient, that 27.87 thousand semen dose is not sufficient per bull in Indian conditions. If we see the breakup in the comparison of the bull and their contribution in the frozen semen production, certainly it is the exotic Holstein Friesian and Jersey. They are having the largest number, that is the 1,173. Then crossbred of Holstein Friesian, crossbred of Jersey and others, that is the 981. Then indigenous, it is 594, and buffalo, we are having 1,403 semen producing bull. In the last decades, the annual growth rate of frozen semen dose was more than 10%. 10% growth we achieved in the last 10 years as far as the number of total bull is concerned. Friends, despite all these things, that despite we are having large number of semen dose every year, despite that we are having more than 4,000 semen producing bull, things are not very good. These are the breedable animals, but they have never calved even once. For example, if we see the buffalo, out of 56 million breedable buffalo, 4.18 million, that is around 7.7%, they have never calved. In case of crossbred, out of 21.22 million crossbred, 1.26, that is the 7.8%, they have never calved. Similarly, in indigenous cattle, out of 55 million, 6.05 million, that is around 10%, they have never calved. What I want to convey that despite large number of semen producing bull, despite good quantity of the frozen semen doses we are producing, there are animals, because of the shortage of the semen, because of the lack of AI, they have never calved in their life. And that's why I calculated that there is a gap between demand and availability of the semen. Additional demand of male germplasm BC total we are having today, we are having around 156 million breedable cattle and buffalo, and out of that 91.16 cattle and buffalo are in milk, and semen straw which we are producing, as I said in the previous slide, 115.9 million. If 91 million are breedable population multiplied by 2, so it is 180 million doses we will be requiring. But we are having 151 million. So there is a shortage of around 66 million doses of the semen. If we see that 15% animal goes through natural mating, even then we require immediately 52.7 million doses of frozen semen. So that is the additional requirement, and there is a gap between demand and availability. Now these two slides are very important that I will explain that why there is a shortage, why there is a gap between demand and availability, what is expected and what is happening presently. For example, average ejaculates per bull per year. Our target is that there should be 187 ejaculates per bull per year, but we don't have such data. Average frozen semen dose per ejaculates, we are having target to prepare 200 semen doses from each ejaculates. Frozen semen dose per year, we want to produce the 37,400 semen dose should be produced from each bull. But today we are producing only 27,874. Frozen semen dose per year from 4,158 bull, which we are having today, we can produce 155.5 million doses, but today we are producing only 115.9 million doses. So there is a gap between target and actual realization to the tune of 25.47%. And all these assumptions have been calculated keeping in view the standards, which I have kept on the right side, that there should be 80% initial motility per dose, 20 million motile spermatozoa per dose, and per ejaculate, four ejaculates per week with 10% deviation. So these are the standard assumptions which we have kept. Now, this is the important slides, demand and supply, how we can meet the gap between demand and supply. Total breedable population today we are having, for example, 156.04 million of cattle and buffalo. In 2021 and 22, we do not know the exact data, but let us presume that it stands the same. AI coverage is 30% of the breedable, so that is the about 46.81 million AI. Total number of AI, if we see 75.6 million we have done, as I said in the beginning. So there is a 1.56 insemination per animal. Target for 2021-22 is that we will increase 30% breedable population to 50% under AI. So we have to perform 78 million animals. We have to cover 78 million animal. Total AI, it will be requiring 125 if we keep 1.6 insemination per animal. To meet out the target of 21-22, we will be requiring 156 million doses of the semen if we are going 2 insemination per animal, and we will be requiring 125 million of the 125 million semen doses if we are going for 1.6 insemination per. So we will be requiring 125 million doses semen, and if we go with 1.6 insemination per animal, then we will be able to produce 125 million doses of the semen with the same number of the bull if we are meeting the target as we have projected, that how many ejaculates should be collected, how many dose per ejaculation should be prepared. If we are going with the standard target which we have projected, I think there will be no shortage in the future. So that's why this statement is very important, that with available Frisian cement dose, we may not meet the requirement. But with targeted growth rate in frozen cement production, as has been shown earlier, we may meet frozen cement dose in terms of the quantity, but quality still remain debatable. If we are not going in this way, then certainly we have to increase the number of bulls. I will come later on that what government is planning to increase the number of bulls to meet the projected target. So my very clear-cut message that if we are going with the projected target with standard protocols and we are increasing the number of the cement doses, we may meet our projected demand with the existing bull which are producing the semen. The status of artificial insemination in different species. These are all pictures were in the cattle and buffalo. We all know that frozen semen is used across globe in cattle and buffalo. US and Europe, they are covering more than 80%. New Zealand, they are using fresh collected semen for AI. And this same semen is collected within 24 hours. Sheep, goat, Dr. Chauhan, he knows that, yes, we are using, but there is a limited use because of the reason. There is a problem in the cryopreservation, high amount of the polyunsaturated fatty acid in sperm plasma membrane in sheep, and egg yolk coagulating enzymes in seminal plasma of goat is a limiting factor for taking the AI at the larger scale. But we can work and we can take care of this issue. Pigs, again, we are using, but there is a limited use of frozen semen because we found that AI with cryopreserved semen results in low farrowing rate, and cooled semen is we are using. Equine, again, cooled semen has replaced the fresh semen. Use of cryopreserved semen is still in nascent stage. Camel, Mithun, and yak we are using, but still as a research of the subjects, Dr. Mitra will agree with these statements. Friends, now there are three important questions. I will take one by one. How to increase the AI coverage? We know that there is a potential of AI for genetic improvement. Then why it is not possible to cover the entire breedable bovine population? What is the problem? Second, how we can improve the conception? What are the constraints? What are the limitations to improve the conception rate with artificial insemination? And third, AI is also holding good potential for genetic improvement in small ruminants, sheep, goat, pigs. Then how we can realize the complete potential of artificial insemination in these animals. Factors limiting the AI coverage, 2-3 most important: very poor penetration of AI in deep and rural area, and most difficult situation when we are not covering it timely. So that is the difficulty in timely delivery of AI services. Lack of mechanism to ensure use of semen from certified semen station. Farmer do not know that semen of which bull is being used for insemination. Poor control over AI technician. That is the biggest challenge, that technicians are not trained. At this stage here, I would like to say, and I would like to appeal to Haryana government, that they are not recognizing the diploma holder of National Dairy Research Institutes, AI technician of Research Institute, because of some words, because it is not enlisted in the list of the university. I have written several letters, and through this webinar also I will request them that NDRI is a institute of eminence under Government of India, and the diploma holder should be recognized immediately, so that the advantage goes to the farmers of Haryana state. There is inadequate number of the breeding bulls, and there is absence of the mandatory system of animal identification. So these are the few regions which are limiting factors for the AI. Developmental priorities to increase the AI. There are two main issues: increasing number of skilled AI technicians with continuous education. As I said, that on one side there is shortage of AI technician. On other side, we are not recognizing the diploma holder of national institutes who can work as AI technician in field condition in Haryana state. And second one, now it is a best time when we can go for next generation AI delivery system, and even it can be a paid system of extension for delivery the AI, ensuring cost-effective and timely services to farmer. Farmer will never mind to even pay for that. Maximizing penetration in the rural area, abiding the breeding policy and goals of the states. There should be increase in interaction between semen station and institute and the university. Certification to semen production center is need of the day. To make a transparency, we can go for online payment of the semen. That will be giving a transparent system to our AI technicians. The second issue that why there is a less success. So factors limiting success of artificial insemination. Improper stress detection. That is the most important, friends. There is a inefficiency in proper timing of the insemination because we are not able to detect the stress of the time. And people talk about the timed insemination or synchronized insemination. Let us accept that it involves a high cost, which is associated with the timed insemination. Limitation in fertility ensured certified frozen semen dose. There is always limitation, we don't get it. There is shortage of the good quality fertile bulls. Frozen semen quality, still we are using traditional method for semen evaluation. I will come later on that how we can improve. There is no post-insemination fertility enhancement follow-up. That is the most important. We don't do anything after insemination to enhance the fertility. Another factor is embryonic mortality and female factors, uterine infection and hormonal imbalance. All these things also play in limiting the success of the AI. This is the reason that means proper diagnosis of stress. That is the important issue which we have to address if we want to increase the insemination success. But this is not the problem locally. This is the global problem. Now, if you see, I have compared globally from 1960s to 210. What was in 1960 and what is in 2010. In 60s, sign of stress, if we see, then standing to be mounted is the most important sign. 85% cow were showing. And now it has reduced to less than 50%, showing the symptoms of standing to be mounted sign. Duration of stress was around 15 hours, and now this duration has reduced to 5 hours. Ovulation window was very small, 10 to 12 hours after the sign of the stress. But now the ovulation window is very big, 5 to 26 hours after the end of stress. So it is difficult to go for exact timing of the insemination. First service conception rate was more than 70%, and now it has reduced to less than 50%. So globally, reproductive efficiency is decreasing. Average lactation in US, Denmark, and other developed nations is only 2.4 lactation. There is increasing trend of infertility in livestock too. So friends, it is not locally, it is globally, but still with these all circumstances, we have to enhance our AI conception rate and production and productivity of the animal. Second issue, there is a problem in current method of the selection of the breeding bulls. We all know, friends, that how we select the breeding bulls. We rear for 2 years or more than 2 years, then we collect the semen, we go for evaluation, and then we say that what is the semen production ability of the bull, and then we identify. And if bull is inferior quality semen producer, then we discard it. To know the fertility status, we wait for several years. After production of the sufficient dose of the semen, we supply to the farmers, and then we calculate, we record the number of calf bonds, and then we categorize that this is the above average, this is the average, or this is a below average. If we see all this data, then the success rate of the current method of breeding soundness evaluation is around 27%. And finally, the success rate for selection of bull is around 7%. So if we take 100 bulls initially at the stage of the semen collection, and out of that we come to the end to the 6 to 7 to 8 bulls who can be taken into the breeding programs. Selection of potential high fertile males. Theoretically, if we see, friends, yes, selection of males at young age for high genetic merit and high fertility is need of the hour. We are looking for that we can select a bull at calfhood level And that is the need. We can develop a model, we can develop a tool, we can develop a biomarkers which will help us. If it is succeeded, then problem is solved. Now, theoretically, I have calculated that each gram of testicular material will produce 15 million spermatozoa. Well-managed, bull ejaculate about 30 to 40 million spermatozoa each week. 40 to 50 billion spermatozoa each week. Intrauterine insemination, when we go, then it requires only 4 to 5 million. And if we go for, other, then it is twice. Maybe vaginal insemination, then it may requires 2 times higher, 5 to 8 to 10 million sperm doses. Theoretically, we see that 30 to 40 billion spermatozoa is produced, and we go for vaginal insemination requiring 10 million. So we can go 50,000 calf per bull per year. Or if we are going even 20 million doses per 20 million sperm per dose, which we are following today, even then 25,000 calf per year, friend. So it is theoretically, if we can say that this is a good bull, then one bull can calf 25,000 to 50,000, depending upon what dose of the semen we are using. The issue which we have to address, conventional extender, we have to look into that. Can be developed new extender which can enhance the fertility of the semen. Traditional method of semen evaluation, we have to change it. We have to bring a new technology, new idea, and still we are using 20 million spermatozoa per insemination dose. We have to see that really it requires 20 million doses, 20 million spermatozoa. Then come to the semen function. We need to assess to know the facility, to know the fertility. Now there are 4 important steps which semen has to do after insemination. Its ability to travel through different barriers so that it can reach at the site of fertilization. For that, we have to study mass activity, motility, viability. Second job sperm has to do, ability to bind with oviductal epithelium, and for that, intact plasma membrane, high matrix metalloproteinase, and incapacitation status, protein tyrosine phosphorylation we have to know. Then the ability of sperm to interact with oocytes, its ability to penetrate and to fertilize. And for that, we have to study the intact plasma membrane, ecosome reaction, protein tyrosine phosphorylation, etc. And then post-fertilization contribution by spermatozoa to the oocytes for embryonic development. That is the most important. And for that, we have to study, we have to know the DNA quality of the sperm. Do we assess all of them? That is the most important. So these are the important parameters for these 4 important activities which a sperm has to perform after insemination for good fertilization, for assured fertilization, that we have to study. That is the science that we require. Bull fertility test we are not doing till we are not coming to a good fertility test. Certainly, we have to go for alternate way, and we have to identify, till we identify the universal good fertility markers, we have to be very stringent for quality control over the frozen semen dose that are being produced at semen station. And the old saying that male contribute 50% in the offspring, it is not correct. Now it has been established that male contribute 64% and female contributes only 36% in the genetics of spring. So we have to be very stringent on the quality control of the sperm and semen. For that, there are some phenotypic characteristics, there are some parameters which correlates with high fertility to the low fertility. For example, protamine deficiency, intact membrane, apostosis, membrane scrambling, lipid peroxidation. These are the parameters which indirectly, to some extent, indicate that this semen will be high fertile, this semen will be low fertile if this value range between these two. Normally, we take that at least 70% of the spermatozoa in fresh semen should be motile. Now, fertility associated sperm protein has been identified, and they are very useful in fertility prediction of the bull, and that we have to use this fertility associated sperm protein as a marker for its fertility index. This was about the semen, bull, their quality, parameters, and what is the status, what is the future of the shortage of the sperm, semen, and all these things. But let us see one statement that male infertility is not only because of the bad spermatozoa, but two cells, Leydig cell and Sertoli cell, also plays most important role. Reason we all know that Sertoli cell, which is a nursing cell, secretes many important proteins which helps spermatogenesis and improve the sperm quality. So this is the Sertoli cell. Leydig cell, again, we know that in the response of LH, Leydig cell secrete the testosterone. Prolactin also, it facilitates the interaction of LH to the Leydig cell. Sertoli cell again converts testosterone into estrogen and also in dihydroestrogen. I'm not going to that what is the role of estrogen and diestrogen, but that is the important one. So what has been concluded that more number of Sertoli cell and Leydig cell per spermatogenic cell, higher the cell production ability and fertility. That is the clear that there, if there is more number of Sertoli cell and Leydig cell in around the seminiferous tubules, then there will be good quality of the sperm and semen producing ability will be increased. In some cases, it has been established that male infertility is not because of the spermatozoa, but because of the inability of Sertoli cell and Leydig cell to provide support to spermatozoa even after insemination. Another important point, I have 2-3 slides more, understanding the sperm and semen biology. That is the most important. 3 important questions. Why a proportion of spermatozoa in a given ejaculates are cryosusceptible while the rest are cryotolerant? For that, we have to understand sperm phenotypic characteristics and molecular composition of these 2 subpopulations of the spermatozoa. Second important question, how far can we modulate sperm function to retain their fertilizing potential after freezing and thawing? And for that, we have to understand the responsiveness of spermatozoa to extender and freezing condition. That will help us if we understand these 2 things. And third important, that how to enrich desirable sperm by the females. Now you know, means it is the female, it is the ovum, it is the oocytes which select the sperm. Earlier we were thinking that it is the sperm which will select, which will go to the oocytes and cause fertilization. Now it is the oocyte which will select the sperm, that this sperm will fertilize or that sperm will fertilize. So how to enrich desirable sperm by female, by oocytes population in a given frozen semen dose. Understanding of the sperm oviduct and sperm oocyte dialogue is essential. Now we say that our GIT microflora are having direct talk with brain. There is a direct cross talking between microbiome of the GIT and the brain. In the same way, we have to understand the dialogue between sperm with oocytes and oviduct. Why some bull constantly produce quality semen with high fertilizing potential? Understanding of testicular physiology will certainly help. So these are the points, friends. To understand the sperm biology, semen biology will help us to understand the better, to understand the insemination in a better way. Some recent developments has taken place. We all know that Government of India, DAH-DF has made future roadmap. You can see on the website for enhancing AI coverage. And this is our target, that AI coverage should go from 30% to 70%. Anyways, what calculation I have shown in the previous slides, it was if we go AI coverage from 30% to 50%, then we may not require additional bull if we are collecting the semen doses from each bull as postulated, as has been shown. But if we are going for 70% coverage of the breedable population, then certainly we will be requiring more number of fertile bull. To increase AI coverage, Government of India has launched AI program, and we all know that 600 districts covering 100 villages each district and covering 200 bovine per village. And in this way, we will be covering 1.2 crores animals to provide under AI. 3,000 high genetic merit bulls of indigenous breed will be produced through embryo transfer technology and through IVF to meet the shortage. If we are going for 70% of the breedable population to cover under this, then we will be requiring more breeding bulls. And government is promoting use of sex sorted semen, and for that under Rashtriya Gokul Mission, and for that 12 A grade stations have already been identified and they are being developed for going for the sorting of the semen. Last two slides, friends. As you know that in 2019, a high power committee was constituted by scientific advisor of Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Vijay Raghavanji, and I was one of the member of the livestock side. Dr. Paroda was chairing, and at the end we gave a lot of recommendations in all sector, in crop sector, livestock sector, fishery, and all these things. 7-8 recommendation was from livestock sector which we gave, and two important recommendation relates only to AI, on only to reproductive technology. And that here I would like to say that the first recommendation was increasing conception rate through fertility insured frozen semen. I have taken assets from our report, and now I'm very happy to say that government is looking and most of the recommendation has been adopted. Increasing the conception rate through fertility insured frozen semen. What will be the expected outcome? Expected outcome and impact. Use of flow cytometer. I recommended that flow cytometer is most important. Use of flow cytometer in semen analysis. It has been found successful in differentiating high from low fertile sperm. Fertility insured and predicted semen will lead high conception rate as compared to the traditional semen which we are using, and this will lead to more calf per animal when we say it is per cow or per buffalo in their lifespan. Action plan, if we see what we have to do and by whom and how much time it will take, what has to be done in the action plan? We have to make the provision of flow cytometer for rapid and accurate analysis of sperm function at each and every semen station. I have given the cost also, that one flow cytometer will be costing around 40 to 50 lakhs. It was last year. We submitted this report in August, September 2019. And then we will provide the training of flow cytometry application for semen analysis that will cost around 1 lakhs per person for the training. And who will be involved that one? Certainly our line department along with Ministry of Animal Husbandry, NDDB, and then key role will be played by National Dairy Research Institute and Veterinary University, and it will take 2 to 3 years to train them and to provide this flow cytometer for enhancing the conception rate. And second one was in the report of policies and action plan for a secure and sustainable agriculture, that is the promoting controlled breeding. We will go for controlled breeding programs by using the assisted reproductive techniques. What assisted reproductive techniques? Which NDRI has developed, IVRI has developed, many veterinary universities or institution has developed. With all these ART, we will go for controlled breeding. And what impact will be? We'll know that controlled breeding protocols and ART will restore the fertility and improve the poor reproductive performing animal. That the poor reproductive performance will be improved. And we all know that, friends, repeat breeding and anistrus is affecting around 30 to 40% livestock population, and which is nearly about 50,000 crore annually we are losing. Incidence of repeat breeding and anistrus, endometritis, and other diseases will reduce. So if we are going for ART, assisted reproductive technology, we are going for controlled breeding, then certainly we can take care of in repeat breeding and anistrus, and we can improve their reproductive performance. In action plan, what we have to do, we have to make sufficient availability. What has been seen, that training and DRI can give. Technology is available. Cost effective is most important. And if we see in this ART, it is the hormone, it is the which is the most expensive, and people are not going. So what could be done? Make sufficient availability of controlled internal drug release devices and hormone at affordable cost. Develop recombinant hormone to assure safety and to improve the responses. Make provision of indigenous production of the hormones, maybe GnRH, maybe FSH, maybe LH, and prostaglandin, etc., to cut down the rate, to cut down the cost. And we will provide the sufficient availability of the trained manpower and training facilities of the ART. Our institution, NDRI, IVRI, and other university can take part of these three, but above three has to be taken at the government level, and it will be done by. That's why we have included Indian pharma industry, and I have already talked to few Indian pharma industry. They are ready that if we go in this direction, then certainly they will go for indigenous production of these hormones, and the cost of AI and the cost of ART will be reduced. And then different organization, NDRI, NDDB, ICR Animal Science Institute, they will be engaged, and it will require 5 to 6 years to take the ART to the field conditions. Last slide. What are the points which we have to ponder or which we have to address? We have to be careful. We have to address the issues with expanding AI coverage, as has been said that it is only 29.7 or 30% AI coverage, despite huge infrastructure. As I said that huge AI center, but each AI center is doing AI only 800 something in a year. Then second, availability of bull calves for timely replacement. That is also most important. If we want to replace the calf, if we want to replace the bull, we are not having sufficient calves. Regulation of upcoming private semen station, that is the most important, so that quality of the semen, quality of the sperm can be improved. Tracking and traceability of frozen semen dose and reliable data generation. If we are tracking, if we are tracing the semen from where it is coming, that's why I said one point, very small but very most important, that online payment for purchase of the semen, that will certainly help us in tracking and the traceability of the semen. Policies for regulation of use of sex semen. At many occasions, you all remember that I have presented that are we prepared to use the sex semen? We are talking about the sex semen, but what are the limitations of the sex semen, how we can use, how we can train, how we can go for insemination. It is entirely different from the normal insemination. So for that, we have to prepare a strict guidelines, regulation, policies for using the sex semen. Semen Analysis Center is state of the art. So that is the most important, that in addition to semen collecting center, our analysis center should be state of the art. Continuous training to the inseminator is need of the day. Lay inseminators are, means lobbying. They are having their association. They are in large number. That we have to see that they should get continuous training, continuous education. Sperm concentration reduction per dose per AI. 20 million doses. How long we can sustain? Maybe 10 million if we go for intravaginal, maybe 2 to 5 million if we go for intrauterine insemination. That is the one issue. We have to see that do we really require 20 million doses sperm per dose, 20 million sperm per dose of the semen, or we can reduce it. That is the most important, and to understand the semen biology, that will help us in future for enhancing the coverage of the AI and for enhancing the success of the AI under field condition in India. Thank you very much for your patience hearing. I don't know that we have provision for question answer or that we end today. Thank you very much, Dr. Chauhan, for giving me this opportunity. You remember that you said me, and I immediately said that yes, I will give my presentation. At the end, I will write to thanks to Dr. A. Kumarasan for helping me in preparation of this slides. Dr. A. Kumarasan, I know that he's online with me. So thanks, Dr. Kumarasan. Thank you very much. Thanks, Dr. Chauhan, once again. Thanks to all the participants who took their precious time, and they were with us for 1.5 hours. Thank you very much. Thank you. Dr. Tripathi, it is
Thank you, sir. And Dr. Tripathi, please.
Thank you, sir. Very exhaustive presentation. And as expected, it was very informative, full of data and full of science also. Sir, you started with the situation in the country with regard to the livestock population and how it has increased over the last 5 years and 10 years. And then you switch over to AI, how AI has really contributed to this transformation. That is the most important thing, that you really proved it, that today's situation which we are seeing in the spurt in milk production in the country, it is really technology led, and AI is one of the major contributor that has changed the scene. You just started with that in word, it's about 80%, the by AI, but our coverage is only 30%. And it started from the history of AI way back in 1678 and the humans, and then switch over to finally coming to India, where we could able to start in 1939, that too from India, and USA followed it afterwards, in 1945, perhaps. 45. So we have been more smarter than them, perhaps, but we could not be able to reach each and every farmers. It is all due to our system. And then you also started working and is telling us about the semen cryopreservation, how important it is, and AI centers spread throughout the country. And then you proved it, that growth in dairy is due to AI. So with producing so many data, from different angles, you prove that it is due to AI. And if AI coverage will increase, perhaps our milk production will go several more times. And you find that there was a how positive correlation between AI and milk production. You start with, and also you prove that how genetic improvement is also there. Now we don't think that we're getting improvement, but from the breeding point of view, you also calculated and correlated well to say that, well, there is genetic improvement also over the decades. And then calculating dose of semen, how much of the status, what we have today, and how many doses we require for further. And then just to switch over to see that there are 7 to 10% of our animals, the breedable cows and buffalo, they have never calved due to not reaching. There are so many problems. Maybe there are many factors, and one factor may be that AI is not reaching to them. And then you also showed that there was more than 66 million doses shot. India is short with that, and that we have to cope up with that. You also spoke very clearly about what is the situation of AI in other non-bovines, in sheep, goat, pigs, mithun, yak, and equines, and where we have not succeeded much, and it has not been that much popular as we have been seeing in the case of cattle and buffalo. And then you just enumerated all factors, why AI is not reaching, why AI has not been so successful, and then going for the sperm biology and sperm function, and then entering into the real science of semen biology, and how we can develop different markers, fertility markers, why the bull even, what is the role of Sertoli cells and Leydig cell in the assessing the fertility in males. So it has been, and then coming to how the government has acted on that with different programs by DADF and other organizations have been running the program. And then finally you enter again into another semen biology, and then the recommendation from the PSA committee, that you had been a member of that committee, and perhaps I just read few weeks back about that recommendation. I'm only the livestock portion very cursorily, and I found that all the recommendation was yours, perhaps. You remember there. So you are the one who is going to have the policy reforms for the livestock development in the country also, and that is the contribution that, sir, you have been making making to the veterinary science, to animal science in this country. And so with this, I thank you, sir, for giving us such elaborate and such a thoughtful, full of science, full of data lecture to all viewers. And I hope that all of us have enjoyed this lecture. And this will, since it has been recorded already, so it will go like viral among the students and faculty throughout the country. And also, I would like to thank Dr. Chauhan for giving me this opportunity to chair this session. That too of a person of this Dr. Srivastava's stature. I'm grateful to Dr. Chauhan, and also choosing such an important topic that changed, that transformed the country as such, and on a very, very, very auspicious day, World Milk Day. Thank you, Dr. Chauhan, and all the viewers also, because more than 300 persons have participated. Scientists, students, and faculty, teachers from all over the country. They participated.
One time it was a 400, sir. Over 400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you, Dr. Chauhan. It is also.
Okay, sir. And now the formal vote of thanks is from our side. On behalf of the National Dairy Research Institute, Karnal, and on behalf of all of the participants, I thank Professor Dr. Anil Kumar Srivastava, Honorable Member of ESRB, and dear Government of India, New Delhi, for excellent presentation on Dr. Varghese Kuren lecture, a memorial lecture on the saga of the artificial insemination in Indian dairy. Sir, it was extremely good and well appreciated by the participants. I was looking all the comments which was given by the participants, and you have given the history of the artificial insemination, what has been done so far, what need to be done, and also the policy in this regard. And you are one of the policy makers, and we know that when last meeting was held, you also called us, and we have submitted our response to you with regard, and you have finally formulated very good documentation, which was subsequently submitted to Government of India for EI policy. Thanks for giving us this opportunity to listen to you, and it was really excellent. You are, because as Dr. Tripathi said that not other than you who will be the best person in the area of the dairying, who has served National Dairy Research Institute and for 9 years, more than 9 years, over 40 the technologies has been developed. And during these 9 years, you can see that over 3,000 publications, extremely good publications. And one day I was showing Dr. Tripathi Sahab, Honorable DDG, that what has been achieved, and this with the bar, you can see that. And he said that how much publication you have during this, why you have this. And I said that it was because of the Dr. Srivastava, the contribution. And you said that you also elaborated the challenges which need to be done in this area of 100% breedable population. So there are a lot of challenges in terms of the very good technology for mortality, also challenges in terms of the reducing the semen quantity, because we do not have this much of semen. And then we have to see there's a lot of challenges in terms of the availability of the superior quality bulls. And those challenges, and I hope the participants who are directly involved with this, all the veterinarians, animal scientists, and the field veterinarians, and some of the progressive farmers who are involved. And then they will be highly benefited with your deliberations. It was extremely good. And friends, you see from the participant, I was just looking at over 400 participants was there in one point of time. And especially you see the feedback and appreciation which has been given from time to time by the participants. I was seeing the chart, the chat there. And this was, especially I would like to thanks here Professor G.K. Singh, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Dubasu, the Mathura, Professor R.K. Singh, Honorable the Director and Vice Chancellor of IBRA, Jatnagar, Professor Dr. Rameshwar Singh, Honorable Vice Chancellor of BASU, Patna, Bihar, and our ADGs, Dr. Tyagi, Dr. Saxena, Dr. Ashok Kumar, all were there. And also the many directors from the ICR Institute. Sir, everybody loves you. And this is because of that, he said everybody wants to see you in a live position. Also, it's the oration. You are very good orator, the orator. And then Dr. Mitra was continuously watching, Dr. BP Singh, Dr. Chatterjee, Dr. Chakravarti, and many more directors from the CSWRI, Dr. Tomar, and those were there. And they were extremely benefited with your the deliberations. And of course, it was the first deliberation from NDRI in webinar. So this was, we have done this experimentation, but we have got successfully this. And although my team of the computer science was not very much acquainted with this technology, but I told them, you have to get it done. And it was because you are sparing valuable time, and because I know that you are very much busy person, and also you have to do a lot of things for the ICR, for the animal science, and within 2 or 3 months. And Doctor, also thanks to our joint director, Dr. R.R.B. Singh and Dr. Dheer Singh, who was there helping me. And I also thanks to Dr. V.N. Tripathi, Honorable Deputy Director General Animal Sciences, ICR. And he is always helping us, sir, because day one when we joined together, and I discussed with him, and he said that, Chauhan, you have to do something for NDRI. I said that without your blessings and without your support, it cannot be done. So they are always supporting us. And also, thanks for him for sharing this webinar, and so providing all the valuable comments and everything. So, and then also thanks to him and for sparing his valuable time. And then also thanks to the participants, especially all the stalwarts in the area of animal sciences, Dr. R.K. Singh and everybody. He is there now. We were able to connect to him because I told my people.
Thank you, Dr. Chauhan. Thank you.
Sir, they were scared that if we touch something in between, so they can lose or miss the activity. But
now I am visible to sir. Let him
yes, so we'll have
Rameshwar Singh is also with us, Dr. Rameshwar Singh.
We'll have a 2 minutes comments from you, sir.
नहीं अब नहीं speaker के बाद भाई.
And from Dr. Rameshwar Singh. Because I told them, why don't you do this, sir? But I don't know what happens.
कोई बात नहीं, रक्षा हो जाता है. अब शुरुआत
thank you.
में अब बोलने का जरूरत नहीं.
Dr. Chauhan, let Dr. R.K. Singh and Dr. Rameshwar Singh give 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes, sir.
It is for the benefit of the participants.
Sir, you have already spoken well. As usual, I have sent a WhatsApp message also to you and to Dr. Tripathi also, because he also spoke very well today by introducing you, and we knew about you as our senior. We are proud of you and that we have such a senior from Mathura days onwards, and I think it is 78 onwards I know you, so one can calculate for how many years we know each other. And it has been a long journey, and being in ISAR again, it gave an opportunity to see you quite often, maybe in regional committee meetings related to other activities. So it is always pleasure to listen to you. You have exhaustively covered. And last slide, it appealed me very much because this also fascinates me as a concern, the infertility. It is really a serious problem, and 50,000 crores is not a small money. So now it has to be, again, emphasized to the government at some appropriate forum, so that some program is also being run on this, like NADCP is being run. It is one of the most important area. And we were reviewing some project of NDRI, where Dr. T.K. Datta is also there. So there was a lot of discussion that Chauhan might remember. I said that this group is working on this area, and serially and sequentially, they are trying to sort out the issues and solve the problem. So this is again a very good project which they proposed on that day. And this is in line what you said, that they need to understand the semen biology, either to reduce the spermatozoa per dose or maybe some other functions, so that the AI coverage can be increased. So I don't have much to say, but only to convey that this is one area where we need equal emphasis as NADCP. So a program on the lines of NADCP should also be launched. 50,000 crore per annum is not a small loss. Losing 30-40% animals without any productivity is again a serious issue which we should consider. I think this is very important point, sir. We have played. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Chauhan.
Thank you, sir.
Giving
Thank you,
me
sir.
the opportunity.
Thank you. Dr. Rameshwar Singh, sir.
सबको नमस्कार और सबको वर्ल्ड मिल्क डे की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं।
सर आप पटना से बाहर चले गए हैं क्या?
नहीं पटना में ही।
नहीं तो गलत बात है, आप पटना से बाहर लॉकडाउन तोड़ दिया।
वो वर्चुअल बैकग्राउंड लगा दिया है। मैंने भी अभी देखा,
लेकिन बहुत अच्छा लग
जब
रहा है।
ऑन किया तभी देखा मैंने कि ये लगा हुआ है। Anyway, such a wonderful talk, Dr. Saab. I congratulate Dr. Srivastav, Dr. Chauhan, and all his team for organizing this wonderful program. My memory goes back to when we started this program at NDRI for the first time. It was initiative of Dr. Srivastav and Dr. Professor R.B. Singh was the chief guest on the first day we had at NDRI Karnal. And today we had to do it in the virtual format, but more people got the opportunity to join, I think, due to the virtual condition rather than doing it physically in our auditoriums. So this has been a wonderful talk by Dr. Srivastav as usual. You are always very thorough and very exhaustive talk on this subject. And many new schemes, Government of India, a new ministry. So the sector is quite upbeat, and we are seeing many, activities which will, accelerate the growth of this sector further. So the nationwide AI program is already launched by the government, and sex semen program is being launched. In Bihar, we are going to have the new frozen semen station and bull mother farm at Purnia, where 50 lakh doses of semen will be the capacity for annual production, and it can be launched anytime. By July, it should start functioning. So with this note, I don't want to take more time. I will be with Dr. Tripathi in another session at Basu. We are having, this program. He will deliver the address. So I hope some of you may be able to join us. I have sent the link to all of you. And once again, I thank Dr. Chauhan and compliment Dr. Srivastav and Dr. Tripathi and Dr. R.K. Singh and all colleagues here. So all the best and my good wishes on the.
Thank you. हमारा बोलना कैसा रहेगा? आप तो
अभी बैठते हैं डॉक्टर साहब, कोई
मैं सर इन्होंने डॉक्टर साहब
है, कोई आप और हम जो भी बात करेंगे, आप बात करेंगे, कुछ न कुछ हमारे विद्यार्थियों को जरूर बहुत इमेंस लाभ होगा, और बाकी लोग भी सब हैं, अगर किसी के पास समय रहे और विलिंग होंगे तो मैं स्टेज विल बी ओपन, कोई ऐसी बात नहीं. Thank you so much.
Once again, I would like to thank Dr. R.K. Singh and Dr. Rameshwar Singh for participating here. And I'm sorry that we could not connect you because of some sort of confidence which was.
No, we were already connected. We listened all the lecture. We were already connected.
And thanks to Dr. and Professor Srivastav Sahab, especially because whenever I say something, you never turn it no. you said always yes. And always your blessings were there to me and to NDRI and to NDRA scientific fraternity. Thanks once
To
again.
all of us, to all of us.
Yeah. And we will be meeting again. And I hope that physically we'll be meeting shortly. And if everything goes well. And thank you once again for spending your valuable time and then giving the very good.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr. Chauhan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Virtual Tali.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
शुरू करेंगे अभी मैं शुरू करता
Thank
हूँ
you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Let us off it now. बंद कर दो.
उसके पास